Where the term honeymoon comes from? I'm about to tell you. See, in the Middle Ages, when a young couple got married, their family would give them a moon or a month's worth of honey mead. And then the young couple would go off, frolic, and make merry for a few weeks, and hopefully come back with a bun in the oven. So that's what we're making today. Not a baby. Mead. So whether you're a Saxon warrior positioned in your shield wall, or a marauding Norse Viking, get ready for that sweet, sweet taste of alcoholic honey, mead. This time on Tasting History.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. So, if anyone doesn't know what mead was, mead is the precursor to beer. So, mead was probably invented many centuries before beer. Beer is more sophisticated. The addition of hops makes a massive difference. Like, if you were to not add hops to the little sugary slurry, which is basically beer, it would be super sweet. A little too sweet. So hops add that bittering. It also adds a lot of other like elements to the beer to keep it longer, or on the shelf longer and everything. I've forgotten a lot. I have. It's been a long time. So, Sushi Guru, thank you for the donation. Did Trigger YouTube did a similar video about the history of carbonara, which also had older Italian recipes that use Gruyere and cream. Vincenzo hated that. Oh, well, I'm going to have to take a look at it. That's another thing, though. Thinking about carbonara, it can't be a recent invention. I mean, the Italians have had pasta for centuries. They've had wheat for even longer. They've had cheese for centuries and centuries and centuries. So it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden carbonara is invented. It doesn't make sense. Personally, I think that carbonara was invented like centuries ago because it's an easy recipe. It's egg, pasta, well, guanciale, and a little bit of cheese. That's it. Nothing else. Alrighty, guys. So if anybody, if anyone has a beer, this would be a good time to crack one open. I don't have any at home. I've been trying to cut back. You know, drinking too much isn't good. No, that's not good. No, but I like good beer. Alrighty.
So a bunch of people have been asking me to make merch or merchandise. So there is some that I just got up in the bar beneath this video. But you know what? I would love some ideas about what kind of stuff you guys want, what I should have made, because I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. Anyway, merch below. More to come. So today's recipe comes from the 13th century Tractus manuscript, Folio 20R. Catchy title. Now usually I read the full recipe, but this recipe is rather long and rather wordy, so I'm just going to give you the hits, but I am going to put the full translation in the description if you care to read the entire thing. For to make mead.
Alright, so if anyone didn't see that, some of these older recipes, thank you for the subscription as well, Guru. Yeah, on Twitch. Thank you. If anyone didn't read that, some of these old recipes, like when you open up an old cookbook, they're not easy to read. Yeah. My dad had a cookbook about this thick, about this big, with a yellow binder. It was a very old French cookbook. It was about from the 1700s, and I could understand a little bit in the book, but it was a very, very, very difficult book to read with all the different measurements and everything else. And I wonder where that book is actually right now. I don't know. My mom moved house so many times that hopefully she still has that book, but it's a massive book. Yes, well, definitely. The old recipes in Latin and French are very, very, very difficult to read. And then I don't have any old English. Actually, I don't have a lot of cookbooks. I basically have the books behind me, and that's it. My dad had like about 100 different cookbooks, and he had some old cookbooks as well, some very old ones. And I prefer the older ones too, because today it's a little hard to find good recipes. Some of the older ones, you know, that, okay, well, they may not be 100% good, but at least, you know, it's grounded in some, you know, base thought. It's not like buying a, well, I don't want to bully Jamie, but I don't have any of his cookbooks.
Take 1 gallon of fine honey, and to that 4 gallons of water, and heat that water till it be as leng. Then dissolve the honey in the water. Then set them over the fire and let them boil, and ever scum it as long as any filth riseth thereon.
Okay, so scum. So he's talking about when during this process of boiling, apparently it develops a lot of scum. I've never tried putting honey, that much honey, in water before. Never. Never at all. And I've never boiled honey. So I don't know. Maybe you do develop a lot of scum on top. Then again, you have to think at this time, the water that they were using, this was probably the purest form of water to drink at the time as well, because water, well, it wasn't as clean as our water is today, even though we have a lot of stuff in it. We don't have a lot of like bacteria and viruses in it. There are still some, but we don't have as many, and you don't have a lot of people getting sick from tap water as you used to have like centuries ago. Okay, this is interesting. I mean, this is the good thing about reviewing Max Miller, eh? This is a really good video, I can tell, because he's very detailed. Yeah, Crimson, now it's all microplastics. Well, what was that? I remember that they did a study, and they took a sample of a US dollar like bill, yeah, a $1 bill that was in circulation for a while, and the amount of, well, drugs and everything else that were laced on the note was incredible. So it's anything really. You just want to be careful. Always wash your hands.
And then take it down off the fire and let it cool in another vessel till it be as cold as milk when it cometh from the cow. Then take dregs of the finest ale or else barm and cast it into the water and the honey and stir all well together.
Okay, so basically what they're saying there is to take a portion of a previous batch to add that to this batch. So this would be adding like the yeast and everything to help ferment it, because the main component in beer is the yeast, and is a very important thing. When you make your mash, this is the precursor to making the beer. The mash it's just sugar. So when you add the water to it and you have, well, normally you add the hops and everything else to it, but in any case, when you add, after you boiled everything together, you have that sugary mixture, you add the yeast to that at the correct temperature so not to kill it. That yeast will start to go crazy because it's all food, and the yeast will convert the sugars into ethanol. So after a while, when the yeast has done its job, and you'll start to notice this when you put them in the container is called a carboy. This is the container that you normally put the beer in to ferment. After a certain amount of time, you'll notice that some of the yeast will be floating on the top and the dead yeast will drop to the bottom. Now, you can agitate it a little bit to get the yeast active again, or if you want to get a higher alcoholic content, because there's a certain level at which like higher alcohol starts to, well, you need to use a different type of yeast. You need to use like champagne yeast or anything because it has a higher tolerance for higher alcohol. That's when you're talking about like 9 or 10% alcohol here. And one of my beers that I did make got up to about 12% alcohol. That was a good one. That was a fun one.
And so let it stand 3 days and nights. Then draw it from the dregs as clear as thou may into another vessel clean, and let it stand 1 night or 2, and then draw it into another vessel and serve it forth. So anyone who makes mead on the regular today is probably thinking, oh, that just doesn't really sound right to me, because mead usually ferments for weeks, not days, and then ages for months, not a couple nights. So this is a quick mead, and probably they would have let it age longer if need be. I don't know. This mead is probably going to be not as alcoholic, very sweet and cloudy, but we shall see.
All right. Ooh, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Will, what foods would you recommend someone avoid if he is fighting gout symptoms? Ooh, well, I'm sorry, I'm not a doctor. I've never had gout, so I don't know what to tell you. I would say talk with your doctor on that. You need to speak with someone certified because I mean, me personally, I don't see a problem with having onions and having like vegetables and fruit, but I don't know. You may have to have a very bland diet. Fegel, the only time I drink alcohol is when I'm taking the medical syrup that has alcohol. Oh, yeah, that's right. Some of the old medicine used to have alcohol, but you know why though? Yeah? The old medicine used to have alcohol to raise your temperature because when you drink a certain amount, enough, it does actually raise your body temperature, and raising your body temperature helps to fight the infections. Normally, when I get sick now, I don't have a temperature. I don't have like a fever or anything. Nothing. I used to when I was a kid, but now not at all. So I know. And now a lot of the medicine and everything, they don't seem to contain alcohol. I remember taking Dimetap when I was a kid. This was a very common medicine, as well as Dayquil and NyQuil. Hmm. I remember taking that a lot. Never liked the stuff.
Now the recipe also gives us instructions on how to make this mead Eaglin by adding various herbs such as hyssop, betony, moonwort, hart's tongue, and white horehound, just to name a few. Kind of sounds like the three Weird sisters at the beginning of Macbeth.
Kind of sounds like Harry Potter in potions class. I just watched Harry Potter. It kind of sounds like that. Um, Interesting. Well, it does actually sound like potions, doesn't it?
Now, Iglin is a shortened version of the word Meadiglin, meaning healing mead, because in medieval recipes, usually when there were herbs added, it was medicinal, because that was the medicine that was most commonly available. And even today, any mead that is made with herbs and spices is called a mythiglin, very similar to Meadiglin. There are actually dozens of terms for all different kinds of mead depending on what you're adding into it and how alcoholic or how much honey is in it. There are tons. And I'm not going to go into them all right now, but there are some great resources, books, in the video description if you really want to kind of get into mead and how to make all the different various forms. But for today, we're sticking with the traditional 3 ingredients: water. Don't use distilled water for this. Mineral or spring water, that's the way to go. Honey, and ale dregs or dried ale yeast. So the recipe calls for 4 gallons of water and...
All right, so that's, like I said, mead was the earlier version of beer. Yeah, beer is a little more complicated. You have to go through more steps. And I've never used honey with beer, actually. Normally with beer, you use barley or you use the malt. So you can get your mash, you can get your barley, you have to boil the you-know-what out of it to extract the sugars. And when you start to extract the sugars from the barley, you'll see the amount of sugar that you can get out of that. It is amazing, and it is super sweet, like beyond the normal thing that you could actually drink. And when you add the hops to it, it makes a big difference. Also, there's a very big, when you get into brewing, and this, I know this isn't beer, but when you get into brewing and beer and everything, there's another world when it comes to hops and selections. Different types of hops will have like citrus notes. They will be a little more bitter. Some will be peppery. Some will be a little sweeter. There's all different varieties. The same thing when it comes to yeast, as a matter of fact. There's certain yeasts that are preferable for lagers, so lager yeast. There are other types of yeast that, again, have more citrusy notes. And there are other types of yeast, as I said before, that are more specialty yeast that you can get to, well, make your product, if it has enough sugar, to get over that 10% alcohol limit, which is not easy.
1 gallon of honey, but that's a lot. So I am going to be making 1 gallon of water and a quart of honey. And really, as long as you stay with the 4-to-1 ratio, you're going to be good to go.
Fingal, what about dry instant yeast? Dry instant yeast, the yeast that you get, it's been a long time since I've done this. You need to get specific brewers type yeast, the yeast that you get or that you need for brewing. I mean, you could try to use like instant dry yeast, but it's not the same. It's not the same type of yeast. There are many different types of yeast, and some yeasts are specialized in baking, and others are more specialized in giving certain notes or certain well, certain notes, certain like aroma, certain flavors in alcohol and beer. So all yeast will convert like sugar to ethanol. The difference is some are more specialized in converting larger amounts of that sugar into higher amounts of alcohol. It gets complicated.
Now, as for the yeast, if you can get ale barm or dregs, fantastic. But if not, you can go ahead and use dry yeast. The thing is, in either case, they didn't tell you how much to use, and it's really going to depend on how active the yeast is. So you're kind of just guessing. What I ended up doing was about 2 tablespoons of barm, and then I put it into a little bit of water with a drop of honey just to make sure that it was active, and it was. If you're using dried yeast, it's hard to say. Usually for a gallon you would use like a pinch, but because we're only doing this for 3 days, fermenting it for 3 days, I'd use a little bit more, maybe like a third of a packet, maybe. So first, if you're worried about bacteria, you can go ahead and sterilize all of the tools that we're going to be using, though in the 13th century they wouldn't have really cared, though they actually kind of have a way around that, so we'll get to that. But it can't hurt to sterilize your equipment. So what?
All right. Now, what Max is talking about sterilizing the equipment, this is very important with brewing. Very important. If you don't sterilize absolutely everything, with that much sugar, there is a very real possibility that bacteria will start to grow. And instead of having this beautifully tasting beer, you'll end up, beer or mead, you'll end up with like a very rancid thing that's just disgusting. So normally when brewing, you can buy like iodine. This is one of the easiest things to use when cleaning everything. You just need to be careful because it can stain your sink. It doesn't leave a flavor to it, not like bleach. Bleach leaves a very strong flavor, and that's not good, especially if you want to be having a very tasty beer. So I would recommend getting iodine. You can buy it either at the grocery store, or you can go down to your local brew shop and get all the products. And it really is easy to start brewing at home. I mean, if you go down to your brew shop, I remember when I started brewing, I was 18, 17, 18, no, 19, maybe, I forget. In any case, it costs like $100. That was more than 10 years ago. So with inflation, maybe now 200, and you can get everything. I would recommend to get a glass carboy, not the plastic. The carboy is a container that holds your mead and holds everything in it. I'd also recommend on getting 2 of them. Yeah, that way when you transfer from one to the other, you can easily do it instead of having to clean your bucket, move everything back into the bucket, and then everything back into the carboy. Because halfway through the process, making mead is a little similar to making beer. You have to take it all out, collect all the dead yeast that's at the bottom, wash that out, and then put everything back in. Because if you don't, it can affect the flavor. Yeah, it's like a lot more intense. It's still easy. It still is easy. There's also another thing to it. When you start making your own beer, if you like drinking a lot of beer, and I love beer myself, sorry, Eyes of the Sky, can't you fix your audio when Max is talking, it's blasting? Really? Oh, his and when you're speaking, it's whispering. Really? Is anyone else having this issue? I can fix Max, but with mine is spiking right now. In any case, as I was saying, I forget now. But, okay. All right, guys. All right, well, if anyone's on a computer, please let me know, because on the phone is a little tricky when it comes to audio. But in any case, as I was saying, what was I saying? No, I lost my train of thought. Happens, no? In any case, when you start brewing your own beer, you will not drink as much as you did before. Why? Because it takes a bloody long time to make your beer. Like, it really does. It can take up to a month. So if you have to wait a month and you only get about 30 bottles out of it, if that, it comes down to about a bottle a night instead of like 3 or 4 or more, maybe. But also, there's another thing. When you brew your own beer, it is such an accomplishment that you made it. You don't drink it as quickly. Yeah, because I could easily chug one beer after another. Easy. Especially after work. 6-pack, gone. Lickety split.
What you'll need is a large pot for boiling, a large container for fermenting, another container for aging for all of 2 nights, and preferably like a bottle with a small opening so you can fit a bubbler or airlock.
Okay, now these little airlocks, this is one of the things that you'll get when you get the packs from Brewing at everything. You need one of these. You have to have one of these. The glass container that he showed, that's not quite a carboy. It's a little different. It's a little bigger and everything. But you need to get one of these. And then, of course, you need to get as many bottles as you can. Like I said, you have to sanitize everything. The bottles, a little tip, is easy to sanitize them in the dishwasher. Yeah? Or if you have a very big container, you can drop them in the boiling pot like you do for like mason jars when we're making jam. And you can actually just sanitize them and then dry them, use the racks in the dishwasher to dry the bottles. Keep them upside down. That's the easy way on doing it. That's what I used to do.
That lets the carbonation out without other things getting in. And then you can also probably use a siphon or a funnel depending on how you plan on getting the mead from one container to the next. Siphon or funnel will definitely make things easier. So following the recipe, we heat our water until it is lang. Now, I could not find anywhere a translation, Middle English, Old English, anything for the word lang. So if anyone knows, great. Otherwise, it really probably just means rather hot, because what you want to be doing is to dissolve the honey in there so it's not just falling to the bottom.
All right, if anybody understands what lang means in like older English, please let us know, because if Max is right, I agree with Max. Maybe it means this. Some of the terminology's changed from Middle English. I mean, old languages, like today is funny too. With Spanish, like if people have like an old manuscript and they're reading the adventures of El Cid, he's a very famous like Spanish swordsman in history. This was from more than 1,000 years ago, so people can still read that, although Spanish has changed a little bit. But today we can't read the story of Beowulf in Old English because English has changed that much. It's just unlegible. We can't read it. So you have to actually know Old English to be able to read it. If anybody is interested in languages, it is interesting. What about Mahamado script? In Spanish. That I'm not sure. Amahamido. Not sure. Don't know about that. Wolfkara is like a Norwegian word. Maybe. Hard to say.
So add the honey and give it a mix until it's dissolved. Then boil the honey and water mixture called must. Now, a lot of modern mead makers would not boil it at this point, but I think that's part of the way that they got rid of the bacteria that might have been in the water in the Middle Ages. If you boil it, it'll get rid of most of the bacteria. Also, this thing is going to have alcohol and a ton of honey in it, so there's not going to be a lot left alive no matter what. So you're probably pretty safe. As it boils...
This is true. This is another point. In the old days, when you had to go down to the well to get your water, or maybe down to your local stream or river, there was a very good chance that you could get sick. So you would have to boil the you-know-what out of that water to make sure you didn't get sick. And in the old days, drinking mead was probably the safest way on staying hydrated. So that's a good thing, isn't it? It's not very good if you're an alcoholic.
Skim off any scum that forms at the top. Though you really shouldn't have that much scum unless you're using honey directly from honeycomb, because that can have dirt or pieces of wax in it, and that's really what's going to be bubbling up to the top. Once boiled, take it off the fire and pour it into the second vessel.
Okay. All right. Big thing here. Now, I know that Max is doing this for the camera. But if you're going to be doing this, you don't want to do it on your cutting board on the counter. All right. Do this in the sink. Also, if you have a funnel, again, if you go to the brew shop, you can buy a big funnel. They have all the equipment. It's fantastic. Use it, because otherwise you're going to be spilling a lot of the product that you want to turn into beer. Oh, thank you, Zach Makes Games, for the subscription. I appreciate it. If anybody has Amazon, just so you know, if you go over to Twitch, you'll get 1 month free subscription. So you don't pay. You pay nothing. It doesn't charge your Amazon account, nothing. Yeah? It's all free for you. Jeff Bezos pays it. And I get a subscription, and it means a lot to me. So, if you want, I appreciate it.
Hopefully doing a better job than I did, because I spilled a bunch and it got really, really sticky for like days afterward. I couldn't get it to be non-sticky. Then you gotta let that honey and water mixture cool until it is the temperature of milk when it comes out of a cow, about 98 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. If you put yeast in there before it gets about to that, it could kill the yeast. So just wait. It can take a while, but just wait.
All right, now, again, when you go to the brew shop, there are little tricks. What I used to do is, because they have a system, I forget what it's called. What is it called? All right, well, in any way, when you see one of those little copper pipes that are spiral copper pipes, I forget what you call them. In any case, what you can get, and again, they have them at the brew shops, is you can connect that to the faucet and run cold water through it, and then put that in your container, your hot your brew mixture, and that will quickly drop whatever issue it'll quickly drop the temperature. What I used to do is I used to put that into my glass container, because it transfers the heat better than plastic. And I used to put that in an ice bath in the sink. It's not the quickest method, but it works. And you continuously have to stir it, because all the ice on the outside is trying to cool the temperature, no? It's trying to cool the mead and everything. The thing is, though, if you can get a copper pipe that's spiraled and you can actually run cold water through it, that's the best method on chilling it. Also, in the kitchens at work, we had a lot of these, I forget what you call them. They're like gel packs, but it's not gel, but they're massive packs to chill sauces. So we used to use these in banquets. Anytime that we had to chill a sauce quickly, because if you can't chill a sauce quickly, it can start to fester with bacteria. So you'd put one of these big packs, we'd keep them in the freezer full of water. They would be frozen. You take one of them out and you just put them in the sauce. You need to make sure that the exterior is clean, because it's coming in contact with the sauce. You don't want to contaminate the sauce, but it drops the temperature fast. Condenser. Thank you, Charles. That's one. CC, that's one. That's one word for it. I haven't used a lot of my English in a while. I'm starting to forget the technical words. That's not good.
Then pour in your dregs or barm or yeast, then cover the top, not airtight, and leave it be out of direct sunlight. You could even put it in a closet.
Okay, two things I forgot to mention. With the temperature, the old rule of thumb, I think it actually comes from brewers. The rule of thumb, normally if you put your thumb in the mixture, if it's just right, that should be a right temperature, so around 37, 38. And he's right, it will kill the yeast off. If it's around 36, a little better. Always read the pack to make sure what temperature you can put the yeast in. The other thing is with chilling this or putting this, allowing it to ferment, I used to put it in the closet, into the pantry, not the closet. You want to put it in a place where it's cool and it doesn't get too cold either. So if it's wintertime and it gets cold in the place that you put it in, you need to make sure that that room has a heater. And if it's in summer, well, you need to make sure that it's a room that has a little bit of ventilation and that's a little cool, because again, if it gets too hot, you'll kill the yeast.
Now by the next day, the mead should be in what I call the Don Ho phase of mead making, because you'll see tiny bubbles starting to rise to the top. Oh, sometimes I hate myself for those kinds of jokes. But I don't care. It makes me laugh. Now, if you were leaving it for longer than 3 days, it would actually start to get clear in this beautiful golden colored mead that we know and love so well. But in 3 days, that ain't gonna happen. So after 3 days, go ahead and transfer it, trying not to get too much of the yeast at the bottom to that next container or bottle.
So a little trick to make your beer clearer is to actually use Irish moss. I never used it because if you're going to be fermenting twice and then after bottling it, you're going to be allowing that to sit in the bottles and carbonate for another 2-3 weeks, it'll clear itself. But if you want to be super picky about it, you can use like a fine mesh muslin cloth when you're transferring the mix from one carboy to the other container. That will help to collect any particulates that you don't want. This is one. Just layer the muslin cloth a couple times and make sure you have like a colander or something so it doesn't like drop in. The other thing with the Irish moss, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you add the Irish moss in during the boiling. I think. Again, it's been more than 10 years since I've done it, and I've never used Irish moss with this. Well, so that's why a lot of alcohol was brewed and let to ferment around late summer, early autumn, so it would ferment until winter. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. The only thing is with lagers have to be cooler. So I never made a lager because I didn't have a place that was cool enough for lagers, but lagers are another type of beer that I would like to try to brew. My favorite was I had a very good recipe for pale ale and another IPA. Very, very, very good recipes. Vermont cheddar. Now, James now needs to do a Islay or a Highland whiskey video. Yeah, Highland whiskey. Well, I need to get my bagpipes back. I need to start piping again. I haven't played in 10 years, so I have to practice.
Then stick a bubbler in it and let it sit for a couple more nights. Now I'm actually making 2 little bottles out of this gallon. One that I'm going to try, in 2 nights, and then one that I'm going to hold on to for maybe 6 months or so. I want to see how the flavor changes. It's not going to have any more fermentation time from that first fermenting, but the aging hopefully might mellow out the flavor. I don't know. We'll see. So what inspired me to make mead today was actually because of a video game that's coming out today, or the day.
Miranda? No, I didn't see Jose's comment. What did he say? Sorry guys, I'm not reading all the comments right now. And it looks like the comments are okay, but I may be having a bit of an issue with the comments. Alright, it looks like they're okay. So maybe it is okay. CM, I found the definition for length online. Heat to a comfortable temperature. Okay, still comfortable to touch. Alright, oh, that's interesting. You should react to the Parmesan ice cream after this one. Same channel, my aunt made a similar one here in Brazil. Huh. To eat with guava syrup. Guava syrup, Romeo and Juliet ice cream. Interesting. Alright. Oh, he donated. Oh, I didn't see that. Let me go back. I apologize. No, I didn't see that. I didn't get any like confirmation or anything on my channel. It didn't pop up in chat. I apologize. Thank you, Jorge. Thank you. I apologize. I didn't see it.
That this video will air, called Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Not associated with them in any way, but I'm still super excited because it's like a history-based game of like my favorite time period, Saxons and Vikings, fighting it out. So I'm assuming that there's gonna be mead in there somewhere. Though when you think of, Saxons and Vikings, yes, you think of mead, but mead actually got its start way before that.
All right, so if anybody else caught that, this is an old video because I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla like 2.5, 3 years ago now, and I finished the game. Well, I didn't fully finish the game. It kept having, DLCs and everything. But in any case, I finished the main story. I liked the game, but I liked Origins. I liked more, and the Athens one, the Greek one, I liked better. I liked that one a lot better. That was probably the best. I played almost every Assassin's game. In any case, Jose, thank you, Jose. No, I didn't see it. It didn't pop up, but thank you. I appreciate it. Chef James Gaming Channel soon. Spirit of Adventure. If I had the time to do gaming, I mean, I game a lot. I still game in my free time, but I game by myself just to try to relax a little bit. So I could game. I don't know. I mean, a lot of the games I've been playing recently, I played Hogwarts Legacy recently too. I finished that game. I completely finished everything with it. It's just, I don't know. Some of the games now, I get bored with the newer ones. Once you play them, you just don't want to replay them. It's hard. It really is. Some of the older games that I've been playing for years, like Stronghold Crusader or Stronghold, they're 25 years old and you can still play the games today. Some of the older games are actually pretty good. Yeah, I could collab, guys. I could. With a game streamer. And I don't know, though. Who would do a collab with me? I don't know. I don't follow a lot of gaming channels. Ooh.
The earliest evidence for mead making actually comes from pottery found in northern China, dating from about 7000 BC. There was residue from honey and the compounds associated with fermentation. And there are mentions of alcoholic drinks made with honey throughout Chinese literature, including the Song of Mead by Su Shi in the 11th century. In Central Europe, similar residues have been found in the pottery of the bell beaker culture, which roamed Bronze Age Europe more than 4,000 years ago. But the earliest written mention of mead actually comes from the ancient Indian Rig Veda, which says, "I have tasted the sweet drink of life, knowing that it inspires good thoughts and joyous expansiveness to the extreme, that all the gods and all mortals seek it together, calling it mead." High praise indeed for this our mead. Now, the drink that they're talking about in the Rig Veda is actually known as soma, which is a honey drink that probably also had some hallucinogens or something in it because it would give visions of the gods. So hopefully not what I'm making today. And while this is the first mention that we have of mead being associated with the gods, it is far from the last. The Minoan culture produced mead and credited it to their mother goddess Potnia, whose priestesses were named Melissa, meaning bee. The love that the Minoans had for this drink passed on to the other Greek civilizations. They also used these same Melissae as priestesses for Artemis and Demeter, and the drink eventually made its way to the Roman Empire.
Oh, this is interesting. I'm sure that mead goes back even further than this. I mean, just because we found it written down at a certain point in time doesn't mean that it didn't exist anywhere else. A lot of people were illiterate during this time, you need to keep that in mind. Some of the people that were chiseling on little stone tablets, those were the literate ones. The unliterate ones didn't write down things. But in any case, it is very, very, very interesting. Now, keep in mind, in the Mediterranean, yes, people today drink beer, but wine is still the drink of choice instead of beer. And there is a reason for this. In the north, mead, beer, and barley as well is easier to grow than grapes, because in Scotland, grapes don't grow so well in Scotland or in Scandinavia. Yeah? So there is a bit of a reason for this. I just finished up my most recent brew that is just a basic mead with some butterfly pea flowers to collect. It is a beautiful blue purple. Oh, interesting. I wonder how it tastes. Does it taste good? Interesting.
Columella gives us a recipe in De Re Rustica, as does Pliny the Elder in Naturalis Historia. There is a wine also made solely of honey and water. For this purpose, it is recommended that rainwater should be kept for a period of 5 years. This beverage is known as hydromeli, and with age acquires the flavor of wine. It is nowhere more highly esteemed than in Phrygia. Now, aren't you glad I said to use spring water rather than make you go get rainwater and wait 5 years? You're welcome. Now, after the fall of Rome, our mead journey takes us north to Britannia, or Britain. In one Welsh poem from around 550 AD called Canu I Mead, we hear of that iconic drinking vessel for mead, the mead horn. May Maelgwn of Mona be affected with mead, and affect us from the foaming mead horns with the choicest pure liquor, which the bees collect and do not enjoy. Mead distilled sparkling, its praise is everywhere. So the mead in that poem...
Oh, sorry guys. Miranda, there's another donation. I'm not... Oh, now I see it on YouTube. I don't see it on my chat on here on OBS. I apologize. Thank you everyone for the donations. I'm not seeing them for some reason. Apenas gracias, eh? From Brazil again about gaming. It would be fun if you and 3 other chefs make a video on Overcooked. Huh. A very chaotic cooking game. Oh, it's interesting. Oh, I can take a look at that. I haven't played cooking games before, so I don't know. Maybe I could try. I've never played a cooking game before. Never. Never. Don't know what I would think about it. Yeah, I know. I thought Portuguese. I know. Yeah. Obrigado. I know. It's just when I say that, it just feels a little strange saying thank you in Portuguese for me. And I was in Lisbon recently. It's just a little strange hearing this word because I'm so used to hearing the word like obligado in Spanish, which means like you're obligated. But gracias, I don't know. Gracias is a little easier, at least in Italian as well. You know, when you say like grazie, it's very close, very similar.
Poem is sparkling, which is interesting because based on what I've seen with our mead, ours is also going to be sparkling. In another Welsh poem, Y Gododdin, we hear the story of a battle.
Oh my goodness, try to read that. Like, seriously.
Where those fighting were rather hungover from too much mead. Men went to Catraeth at morning, their high spirits lessened their lifespan. They drank mead, golden sweet and snaring. For a year the minstrels were merry. Their high spirits lessened their lifespan. How Welsh. Anyway, I wanted to actually thank a Welshman, the Welsh Viking here on YouTube, named Jim, for helping me with a bunch of the research and the pronunciation, as well as letting me know that the Welsh word for drunk is meddwi, which literally means meaded. I love that. Now, at about the same time that these Welshmen were lessening their lifespan with mead, the Irish were drinking it too, just across the water on the hill of Tara.
Wow, yeah, if anyone hasn't been to Ireland, trust me, they love a pint. Oh boy, do they love a pint. They do too in England, but I think the Irish are... I think they drink more per person, honestly. And I love Ireland. It's a beautiful country. If anyone hasn't been, you need to go. Yeah, Jose, obrigado in Portuguese are obligated and thanks. Yeah, I know. It's a bit strange, isn't it, Jose? It's just... I mean, Portuguese, when I listen to, like, Portuguese from Portugal, Lisbon Portuguese, their dialect, it's a very distinctive, it's very different, I should say, than Brazilian Portuguese. When you listen to Brazilian, it's a very different language. Very different.
Where the banquet hall was known as Czech Mithorda, the mead circling house, which I can only imagine is rather similar to Hrothgar's mead hall, Hjorut in Beowulf, where Grendel would rip apart drunken Danes. They would willingly wait on their wassailing benches, a grapple with Grendel with grimmest of edges. Then this mead hall at morning with murder was reeking. The building was bloody at breaking of daylight, the bench deals all flooded, dripping and bloodied. Now let us pause right there while I beseech thee, if you have never read Beowulf, or if you only read it under duress in high school or college, go get a copy because it is so great and it's super quick to read. It's not very long. I'm going to put my favorite translation in the description, but really any translation works. Don't watch the movie, but it's fantastic. And whoever wrote it, we don't know, but whoever wrote it really was the greatest of poets or skalds, and must have gotten that from Odin, because Odin made good skalds.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've never read Beowulf. No, I saw the movie when I was a kid, but I never read it. I need to read it. Sean Brooks, have you ever watched Townsend's channel? Yeah, I have. I've seen Townsend. He does a good job. I was thinking of doing a reaction to Townsend, because if anyone doesn't know, Townsend normally dresses up in like the 18th century, 1700s, around the time of the Revolution. And he makes food of around the time of the Revolution. And some of their recipes are very interesting. They really are. So he does reenactments. And he does good. Max does an excellent job though. But like I said, like right now, Max has done so much research with this that this is beyond me right now with a lot of this, because I haven't done research with Mead. Jose, to be honest, Portuguese and Portuguese, it's the same difference of England and American English. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, it's like the difference between Spanish, and then depends on what type of Spanish from Spain, but let's just say Castilian, yeah, the proper Spanish, compared to like Mexican or Venezuelan or Argentinian. I mean, there's so many differences, so many. And even here in Spain, depending on the region, like I can make a distinction between Castilian, Catalan, so somebody that is a Catalan speaker speaking Spanish because they have a certain accent when they speak in Spanish, Andalus. So if somebody is Andalusian, I can easily tell an Andalusian, yeah? They drop all the S's. Like it's really difficult to hear somebody from Andalusia speak for the first time in Spanish because you will not understand them. And they speak so quickly. Like they're the fastest speakers out of all the Spanish speakers, the Andalus. The fastest. Oi. And then, of course, well, if anybody is a Canary from the Canary Islands, it's a little like Andalus, but they pronounce a little more than the Andalus. So I can understand more. Yes. They are very different, Miranda. They are. Georgeman. No, I've never tried making mead. So I've just made beer. So I've made a lot of beer. But making mead is a simpler version. Hey, Jordan Lopez. James, you live? Yeah, I am. I'm live. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that you enjoy my videos. Yeah, I try to go live every now and then. I was doing like twice a week, but I can't do twice a week right now with editing and doing all the shorts and videos and everything. Doing everything myself is just too much. And tomorrow, I was going to go live tomorrow, but I have a little like dinner with some family, so I can't do that tomorrow. So I had to do it today. And Sunday I post, so I can't post at the same time that I do a live because then it messes up the algorithm. Iram, speaking of which, our Malay dialect is closer to Malaysian than Indonesian. Oof. I know. Well, when you get into languages, there are so many different languages and dialects. It is incredible. It really is. Like growing up when you're a kid, you think, oh, there aren't that many languages and everyone can understand you. Well, no, huh? Gamma Squeeze, love your videos, dude. Do you have a favorite Tom Yum recipe? Oh, thank you. I've never made the dish. I've never made it. No, not only that, but I can't eat it because I have a seafood allergy. So anything with shrimp, I have to be careful with. And I used to make a lot of paellas too. So anytime that I made a paella, I make good paella, but I have to have other people taste it for me because the fumet, the like seafood base that you use to make the paella, is with shrimp, and I can't eat it. So I have to be very careful. Also, here in Spain, what they'll do, yeah, if anybody does have a seafood allergy, Be very careful when you go to a restaurant. Even if you see Caesar salad on the menu, ask. Because recently I went to a restaurant, okay? I went to a restaurant. I ordered, there's not a lot on the menu that I could eat, so all right, I'll order a Caesar. It's easy, right? International. Well, this Caesar is made with caldo. Now, it was made with caldo de mejillones, okay? So we're using like mussels and everything. But I can eat mussels, but I don't like them. But you don't put mussels, you don't use the mussel juice to make the Caesar dressing. And they used it. Now, there was another time, not that long ago, that somebody told me that in their restaurant in Lyon, I think it was, they actually put fish stock, so shrimp and everything, in their Brava sauce. And salsa Brava doesn't have fish in it. It shouldn't have meat in it. It's not fish based. So you need to be very careful when you go to a Spanish restaurant. Huh? If you see something on the menu and you have an allergy, ask. Ask them if like this tiene mariscos, yeah? If this has anything to do with marisco at all, because trust me, you'll be surprised at what they put in their bloody salads and everything, huh? Yeah, even Caesar. Yeah, Caesar dressing. And I tasted the Caesar dressing just to taste it. And it tasted like shit, honestly. Yeah, I can make Caesar. I have a really good Caesar recipe. If anybody has a Caesar recipe or wants to like taste a good Caesar, check out my YouTube channel. I have a recipe on there. I also have a good Cobb recipe.
And that brings us to Norse mythology. Following a war between two factions of the Norse gods, they decided to call a truce in the same way that we do today by spitting into a giant cauldron. Well, out of this godly saliva rose a creature, a man, god, not really specific, named Kvasir, and he was all-knowing. He was the most brilliant poet and had all of the knowledge that there was to be had. Even the gods would ask him questions that they needed to know. Well, when Kvasir wasn't busy, he liked to go down to Midgard, where the humans lived, and pass on some of his knowledge. How kind of him. Well, one day he came across two dwarves named Fjalar and Galar, who said, "Come on in, we'll make you some mead." And that's what they proceeded to do. They made him some mead. They slit him open with knives and drained his blood into 3 vats, then added honey to it to create mead. How dark. But that mead supposedly gave some of his power if you drank it, so it was called the Mead of Poetry. But old Kvasir was, of course, missed by the gods, who were like, "Hey, dwarves, where's our smart guy?" And the dwarves were like, "Oh no, you know what? He came over and he was so smart that he choked on his own knowledge and died." And they believed him. Well, these two jerk dwarves weren't done with their little killing spree, because a little while later they killed a couple, a husband and wife, who were giants. And the giant's son was like, no. So he came over and took the dwarves and set them on an island that was about to flood so they would die. But the dwarves were like, "Hey, if you don't kill us, you can have this mead of poetry that we've got." And the giant was like, "Okay," and let them go. And now their part of the story is completely done. It's kind of weird. But the giant didn't drink the mead himself. He actually just kind of hoarded it and gave it to somebody else to protect. And when Odin, played by Anthony Hopkins, found out, he decided, "I need this mead of poetry," because Odin prided himself on his love of knowledge and poetry. Anyway, after a bunch of scheming and shape-shifting, Odin was allowed to have 3 sips, 1 from each vat of the mead. But joke's on them, because an Odin sip is like the sip that I'm going to take if you offer me a drink of your cocktail. He drained it dry.
Interesting. Oh, thank you, Gorspree. Hey, have a good time, huh? Take care. If anybody needs to go, that's not a problem. We're going to do more live streams, so not to worry. I know it's late for some people. I mean, I'm doing this at like 6 o'clock now. It's my time in Spain. But I know that a lot of my Aussie watchers, it's very, very late where you guys are. So I appreciate you a lot, and thank you for watching. If you are in Australia watching and it's late. Well, thank you for everybody watching. He does really good story time. Max. He does really, really good. Some of these stories are a little bizarre, and I haven't heard them before, but well, you learn something new, don't you? It's 7 in Bulgaria. You guys are only an hour ahead of us. Oh, well, that's right, because Spain, that's right. So if anybody doesn't know this, Spain is on Central European time. We're the same time as Germany. Yeah? You would think that we would be the same time as London. It's logical. France is the same time. So is Portugal. I think France is the same time, if I'm not mistaken. It's strange. It happened during the time when Franco was in charge of Spain. He used to be the dictator here. And he was buddy-buddy with the other one in Germany. And, well, they were on the same hour. And it's never changed. They never changed it back. So, we're an hour ahead. I mean, in summer it's nice because you can stay out till like 10 o'clock at night and it's sunny. It's nice. Yeah, you can go to the beach 10 o'clock at night, sunny, beautiful.
All 3 vats in 3 little sips, or huge sips, I guess. Then he turned into an eagle and, with the Steve Miller Band playing behind him, flew home to Asgard and regurgitated the mead into his own 3 containers. But he dropped a few drops down to Midgard where the humans live, and those drops are said to be the beginning of all mediocre poetry in the world. Because to be a great poet or skald, you have to get your mead directly from Odin himself. And I'm pretty sure that whoever wrote Beowulf got their mead directly from Odin himself. Now, the mead that I'm making today, I'm not going to guess is going to make me into a great poet, but maybe if you drink enough of it and you kind of get a little chatty, you'll think you're a great poet, because that has definitely happened to me in the past with mead. Anyway, let's give it a shot. So once two...
No. Sean Brooks, Steve Miller Band reference goes unnoticed. Well, maybe a little bit, yeah. Maybe a little bit. I mean, a lot of people, I think all of us are a little enchanted with all the stories that he's saying, because a lot of people aren't writing right now, or my chat's not working, one or the other, I don't know. But this is interesting, like really, really interesting. Yeah, he's quoting a lot of Norse mythology right now.
2 nights have passed. Pour the mead into that final clean vessel, and it's ready to drink.
Looks a little murky.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was embarrassing. My ale horn seems to be leaking. That's not good. Nobody likes a leaky ale horn. So instead, I'm using a beer mug. That's okay. So let's go ahead and try this mead.
It looks very cloudy.
It smells very yeasty still, which I guess is to be expected.
It will be like this as well with beer if you let it go for just 2 days. It'll smell like hops. Well, not like hops, like yeast.
I like it. You know what? It's not as... When I poured it, it was effervescent, but when you drink it, you don't really get it. It's pretty flat.
Well, it's not carbonated as much. So, just to let you guys know, there are 2 ways that you can carbonate alcohol. All right? You can do forced carbonation, or you can do the natural carbonation. Natural carbonation takes a long time. You have to bottle it, or keep it in a container, cap it, and allow that to ferment. You also may have to add a little extra sugar to kickstart the yeast that's left in there for it to carbonate. Forced carbonation, you're putting, I think it's CO2. I think it is, but anyway, you're putting the little CO2 bottles in whatever container that you have it, and it's under pressure, which normally when you get like a pint of beer out of the tap, I normally get a little drunker than normal because it's forced carbonation, it's not natural. So if you want that effect, get it out of the tap. But in any case, I prefer natural carbonation. You can get it in as little as a week. But if you want like to have your little bubblies, like now, instantaneously, you have to use forced.
There's definitely some alcohol in there, though I don't know how much, because I didn't... you can find out. There are ways you can test it and everything.
Yeah. All right, so what he's talking about, there's a little... bloody hell, what is that thing called? It's been a long time since I've done this, yeah? It's a specialty little gadget, It's a alcohol thermometer, basically. So what you do is you put your mash or your batch in a bucket. You take this little device, which will float in the bucket, and it has different measurements. You have to measure the amount or the distance or the depth that this little thing is at, and then subtract that from the beginning of the batch at buoyancy or whatnot, because there is like a little level where it says it's buoyant, and then there's another one that says that there's a certain amount of sugar that's now out of the mash. And then with a little bit of math, you do the calculation and you'll come up with the alcohol. You 13 or 15% mead, the alcohol content. Oof. Whoa, that's pretty strong. My goodness. The strongest beer I got was like 12 and a half, almost 13%, but 15%. It does take about a month. Yeah, it does. Wow. Woof. I'll tell you, you won't be having many of those before going to bed. One time, I'll tell you a funny story. So one time when I was working, I came home late. I came home at like 12, and I think I had the next day off or everything. I forget. In any case, I had the next day off. Let's just say that. I wanted to relax a little bit because when you come home after work, you're very wired. Yeah, if anybody doesn't understand this, if you live with a chef and they're very wired after work, they're like hyper, they can't sit down. This is normal. It's stress after work. And all you want to do is to relax, either through drinking, playing games, watching TV, I don't know, taking the dog for a walk, gardening, whatever it may be. Me, I like to play games. So I got one beer of mine, of that 12.5% beer. I was playing, I think, like Assassins at the time, and I don't remember much. I finished my beer, and then I woke up about an hour or so later in the dog bed next to my computer. I apparently fell asleep and fell into the dog bed, and I remember my German Shepherd, Destiny. She was just looking at me, sitting there, because I was in her dog bed. She wasn't very happy. It happens. Yeah, I used to fall asleep a lot when I was working so much, and you don't need to be drinking a lot, right? Because if you were that tired and then you drink on top of it, phew, it just knocks you out. She was a good dog, though. She was a very sweet dog.
I didn't do it. Definitely alcoholic though, and definitely super sweet. I think it would mellow if I gave it some more time, which I'm going to do. Obviously not fermenting, but I am going to leave it in that second bottle, maybe 6 months. Maybe in 6 months we do another episode on something else, and I drink the rest of the mead, and we see how it goes. Anyway, go make yourself some mead. It's actually not that hard, just takes some time. And enjoy life and enjoy poetry. And I will see you next time on Tasting History.
That was a good video. That was a really, really, really good video. I like that. Oh, golly, he has a lot of Patreons. Holy cow. Okay, well. No, he does an excellent job. Max does a really, really, really good job. So thank you guys for watching this with me. I mean, I have been wanting to do this. I really have. He does a good job. I have known he does a good job. It's just that I'll try to make a reaction video of him. I'll try to get it into like a proper video and to post it. It's not going to be the same as my normal videos though, so I don't know. Maybe I'll pick this video or another one. He has a lot of information with his videos, guys, as you can tell. So for me to add information to that, I'm going to have to work a little harder. Yeah, he does a really good job. Really good. Well, if anybody has any questions, now's the moment because we finished the video and we can talk for a little bit. You should react to the shorts of Dylan Holly's. Oh, yeah. No, I know Dylan. Yeah, he does a really good job. Yeah, he's good. He makes a lot of old recipes from the, Great Depression and everything. Where's Simba and Pumbaa? Both of those little kitties are upstairs right now in the window. It's a little hot, so at night what they do is they go to the window upstairs in the bedroom because it's not that sunny on that side of the house, and they get a little bit of air. And then when the sun transitions, they go downstairs and stay in that window and get a bunch of air. You should react to kitchen nightmares. Uh, Kitchen nightmares. I've tried to react to some of this stuff, but it is so heavily copyrighted with TV studios. There's just no way around it. Like, literally. Vermont cheddar. My cat's turned into a radiator when she finds the sun. Yeah, one of them, Pumbaa, he likes the sun. Simba doesn't like the sun at all. So it's very interesting to see the two personalities with the cats because they're very different from one another completely. Have you heard of Nate's What I Reckon? Yes, I have. I have. I think I did a reaction of him actually with Uncle Roger. That was like 2 years ago. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. He was making egg fried rice. You should react to Man with Pot. Man with Pot. Doesn't ring a bell. I Mopar. Do chefs do any baking in the kitchen, or is it done with bakers or another person in the kitchen? So no, normally normally it depends on the kitchen, but in a proper French kitchen, the baking is done by the pastry chef because they deal with the cakes, they deal with the recipes for that. It doesn't mean necessarily that they make all the breads. I mean, the savory kitchen can make the breads as well. But because I've never been in a kitchen where we have a baker, like an actual baker, never. Even in France, we had pastry departments, we had, everybody is organized, but it was always pastry making the breads and everything. And, well, we normally used to sneak into pastry when they weren't there and steal the little, chocolates and everything else, the croutons, and yeah, it's good. I Pro Chef makes a gourmet meal for cats. Yeah, maybe I can make some beef tartare for the kitties. It'd be good. It'd be easy too. The cats would love it. Will Jackson, Chef James, can you get Uncle Roger drunk when you guys cook together? Well, if Uncle Roger would ever like reply to my comments or anything, then yeah, maybe. I've been trying to get a collab with him for a while, and he's busy. He's doing his own thing. So I don't know. It would be great if it happened. I mean, we'll see. I think Uncle Roger likes to drink. From what Chef Brian said, Uncle Roger likes to drink. He does. Jose, I like Max. He made the national Brazilian dish for the bicentennial of independence. Oh, really? Interesting. Oh, I'll have to check that out. No, I guarantee you guys that Uncle Roger likes to drink. I guarantee you he does. Yeah, Will Jackson, drunk fried rice. That's actually a good ring to it. Drunk fried rice. Huh? No, that is. Well, guys, I am glad that you appreciated and you enjoyed this tonight. Yeah, it was fun watching it with you. If you have any questions or comments, ask me now. Because otherwise, it's time to go get a beer. Well, I don't have one, but it's time to go get a cold drink of some sort. Because I don't have anything with me. I'll just have some tea. You're welcome, guys. If anybody has any suggestions as well on what to like what to review next, then please leave a comment. But leave a comment in the main video, the 16:9, the big one, not the short, because the shorts, for some reason, get this, I'm doing shorts live right now. Shorts are continuously on the shorts feed. They're getting a lot of views. The thing is, as soon as I stop the stream, the shorts die. It doesn't stay as a short anymore. It stays as a live video. And it's kind of redundant having two videos on the live stream after the stream is over, and it's the same video. It's a little redundant. So what I normally do is I take the short off just because it's too redundant, and I leave up the main video because, I mean, you can see me better in the big one, not the small one. And there are a lot of people that do shorts. So this is why I'm doing 2 videos on TikTok. Also, Twitch is going to be doing it as well pretty soon, I heard. So, okay, Miranda. Well, message me later. So, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats and all the donations. I appreciate it, and all the subscriptions. I really do. I apologize, Jose, that I didn't see your donation, but thank you. We'll try to do it again next week. I don't know what day next week, but maybe next Saturday, or it may have to be next Friday again, or maybe Thursday. I don't know. We'll try to work out the dates. These weekends are getting a little busy for me because of summer, and it's August. So everybody that's on holiday, have a great holiday. Have a great summer. I hope you have a wonderful week. And if anybody is feeling a little sick, try to feel better, all right? Because it's not fun getting sick in summer. And until next time, take care. Hold on, wait for 1 minute. And I'll see you guys again very soon. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so. Like the video because it helps out wonderfully with my channel. And apparently there's a new thing that you can hype the video. I don't know what that is, but YouTube gave me the notice. And anyway, have a great time, guys. Take care.